tier 9 map. We don't have our tower maxed out yet either, but just to give you an idea of what we get these huge pummeling schmacks from the sky, right? Just to give you guys a close view of the skills that we're running. Of course, we've got Fierce Strike, and we've got it Verity. We didn't get the best roll on it. You can get up to 200% on the enhanced ultimate blow damage. It can go up to 200% for that damage multiplier. We got 157. One time before I had 191. I'm so sad that I got rid of that one. But the way we're doing it is we're running, you know, a little bit of crit chance because you kind of want crit chance on this skill. And the reason why is because whenever you're rocking a two-handed weapon, you'll deal additional 100% critical damage, meaning your critical hits are going to be massive, much more massive. So if you max out your critical damage, you'll get another 100% on that, you know, of course, which is really nice. It allows you not to work on crit damage so much because you can rely on the skill with a two-handed weapon. If you want to run dual wielding or one-handed, you'll still get that benefit of the 50%, but the two-handed weapon gives you the big massive 100%. So now we're going to talk about, this is not ideal, but because this skill is considered a blow, it does not have like melee on it whatsoever. You'll see like this one has melee attack, melee weapon range, channel strike physical. This does not carry that. So because it doesn't, we can't take advantage of melee damage amplification. We can't get fighting spirit. We can't get grand approach. There's a lot of things that we kind of have to slide out in order to get the benefits on this skill. So one benefit is, though, we get the Focus Strike. Now, we went with Source on it as well. Focus Strike is going to be like a 3-hit combination. So every 3 strikes, you're going to hit this huge damage amplification, and all these other things are going to come into effect, as you can see. The Source gives you another 8% area damage amplification on the first and second strike. So what we do is we're spinning around, channeling up, getting our damage amp for every 0.5 seconds, right? And we're going to have damage reduction on that too. And that's what we're using Whirlwind for. Whirlwind's really just allowing us to move around a lot more effectively, and then relying on our 2 seconds cooldown for this, so that every 2 seconds we can just smack really, really hard. So again, let me just demonstrate it. We're going to be swirling around, and then we'll smack. And you'll see that it normally either stuns or it just wipes a lot of the enemies out already. One thing that I will say that I found that I kind of want to figure out a little bit better on is how I can make my Whirlwind a little more effective. We're running the condensed weapon range on it, so it kind of makes Whirlwind a tiny little ball, right? It makes me really small. I don't hit as much, but of course dropping ultimate blow ever so often allows me to clear the mobs, so the damage that I am dealing just stacks up and it smacks like a truck. I love what it is and how it worked. Let's jump into the Zodiac a little bit here so I can show you guys a little bit more in detail of the Zodiac choices that we made as well. So of course we'll go through one. I just went attack speed. The faster attacks, the better. One drawback to Fierce Strike is that it has a 5% a speed dampening already, so the attack speed of the skill is already kind of knocked down no matter what, because it's considered a blow. Then we're going to go to the part 2, which is the Explorer. I wanted to amp myself up with as much armor as possible, and still get me substantial amounts of damage throughout the process. So we're getting, you know, 10, 30%, 40%, 50% armor right there. Armor is just mitigating a lot of the damage. That in conjunction with Fighting Spirit that we have on Whirlwind, it's just going to help us for survivability overall. We're going to jump into tree number 3, which is going to be health and attack speed and a little bit more damage. Hit rate is always a bonus. The higher the hit rate, the better. That is a slept on passive, right? So like you get as much hit rate as you can, because as you level up, as you go through these maps, your hit rate is going to be deducted. So you're going to have a low hit rate. Doesn't matter if you can hit for 30 billion damage if your hit rate's only 1%, right? You hit for 30 billion, but you have to swing 100 times before you actually hit anything. You could kind of see where that would kind of get in the way. Okay, next we're going to jump right into tree number 4 right here. And tree number 4, what I did was a little bit of fire resist, damage upon attack, another bit of armor, and, you know, 20%. Now, You might swing this either way, depending on like, oh no, I don't have a lot of poison or whatever the case may be. You can kind of judge that one how you want to. And then I also went into Leaf, where I went physical and elemental resistance, and then more physical health and 20% physical damage. Now, the elemental resist, again, I'm trying to max out my elemental resist. My build currently has me maxed out on armor, so I could skip out on this bit of armor. If you can't and you're better off on your elements, you can still, slide around and pick which one would be better for you at the end of the day. All right, so then we're going to jump into our big specialization, Zodiac. Attack speed with uplift. So uplift is going to give us a grand amount of attack speed and some damage bonus as well. This game is really focused on how fast you can attack. You want survivability, but faster attacks means more DPS at the end of the day. A little or armor penetration, just so more damage mitigation goes through. And then we focus on overpower, which is just giving us more armor pen at the end of the day. And then a bonus of the armor overpower effect, and of course the strike damage amplification. So once we're done with that, we can roll on over to number 5. We wanted, again, guys, we try to focus on that cast or attack speed and then a little bit of strike damage there. But I actually ended up going into 2 different trees, and I wanted to focus on crowd control and apply stun as 10% amplified damage. You might be wondering why I wanted to do that. The skill itself has a crowd control rate of plus 45. If you get you a good two-handed item that gives you good stun rate on top of that, well, then you're going to be looking at being able to stun your enemies a little more often. And because you're stunning them, you're going to get 10% amplified more damage. And you're going to, you're just going to be stacking a little more damage here and there. I'll detail the weapon that I'm using once we get through the majority of the tree. So next, we're going to jump into this one. Again, health, attack speed is kind of important for survivability. We know our armor's up. We're going to look here, a little bit of physical damage dampening, so we can just survive. It's really important to survive in this game. After tree number 6, we look at tree 7 here, and we're going to see that we got attack speed. The barrier I could probably do without. I could probably maybe jump into this line instead and maybe go with the crit rate, crit damage, and that at the end of the day would have more of an effect for me. But this skill, Fierce Strike, relies on area damage. So you kind of, if you have the opportunity, grab you some extra area damage. That way you're just smacking in a larger area of effect or just dealing more damage within that. Now let's go ahead and slide back to the second part of our specialization here. We went with the acceleration. Again, attack speed, attack speed, attack speed. And then we're going to give ourselves a little bit more critical hit chance. Lastly, we look here, of course, two-handed weapon. I wanted that crit rate, bonus damage, a little bit more armor, health, and mana. And then I wanted to go with movement speed increase, a little more damage, and more crit damage on that. I also jumped into this tree for stun rate and stun duration, and giving myself a little bit more damage against enemies impacted by status effects, and another 10% amplified damage whenever I stun. Now, I can jump into this and give myself another 30% if I want to, but I didn't decide to do that. The last is Hunter, where I wanted to get that 1.5% damage amplification and a chance to reset a skill rune cooldown. I don't use a lot of skill runes, but I am using attack and pulse for the amplified attack speed and amplified damage and resource reduction. It seems to work well for me. I've tried Vital Strike. Vital Strike just does not seem to give me what I want out of it at the end of the day. And then the last skill tree we're going to look at here is we're going to run we're going to take more physical. That's part of the reason why we went with that physical damage reduction, because we're going to take more physical damage, but we're going to deal 15% amplified. Some health on hit, again, survivability, and area damage amplification. Now, you could run this a little bit different if you want to. I'm just giving you guys the way that I've got my champ build out. Of course, I had to stack a lot into strength and dex because of the skills that we're using, not so much intelligent. And that's what's got us where we are. Now, when we look at the items we're running this in Origin. I didn't say that out gate, but we're running this in Origin so we don't get the reroll gear. So what's dropped here is what I've got. Okay, it's just what I've got. Which, this is crap. I really don't need this spell critical rate, but I love that physical damage and health regeneration and base critical chance that I get on this extravagant ring. But let's look at the main piece that I'm using. Orb of Restraint, guys. What makes Orb of Restraint so good for me is I get plus 30% crowd control duration. Enemies are stunned much longer. But I also get a critical damage bonus of 150% of my stun rate. So the higher I can push this number overall, the bigger bonus I get for critical damage. And that's what's making this thing swing like, I don't know, it hits like a truck. And you notice that it has a very high crit rate. The only thing that sucks is it has a low speed and a small weapon range, which means it doesn't do a lot for Whirlwind itself, but it does a lot for Fierce Strike. Next is this Face of the Wilderness. Now, guys, there's a lot of different options, you know, for helmets, just however you want to run it, but I love what Face of the Wilderness does, simply because I get a bonus 85 chaos resistance when all my other resistances are 100 or more. Okay, to me, that's very helpful. And then a little bit more aura seal effect. I think that can roll higher than 1%. Yeah, it could run to up to 5% amplification. We got a bad roll on that, but I've been happy with the roll on everything else, to be honest with you. So there are your bases of what I'm running on this. I've been running roll over anything else. I've got a shout going on, but at the end of the day, what really makes it happen is that smack right there, being able just to smack it, clear out the small guys in the mob, and move on, so on and so forth. I like what I get out of the skill. It is very awesome, but yeah, so there's your little build guide there, guys. And if you like just massive hits, clearing them out and giving yourself a little bit of mobility, run that. Check it out. Tell me what you think. If you have any ideas on how you can make the build better, please let me know in the comments, guys. Mad love. I appreciate you guys 100%. Y'all keep it real, and we'll see you on the flip side.